And we're also decided to make some minestrone. And I just realized, hang on a second. We didn't change the menu from yesterday. Crazy us. Silly us. Oops. So I will write that up there so that people who come in know what we're making. We are going to make minestrone. And chopped sandwich. Oops. Chopped sandwich is what we're going to call it. Slash salad. All right. Not my best writing. If you are here. Okay. We're going to get started on this pretty quickly. First thing I'm going to do is grab a knife. We're going to use this guy later. So I'm going to put him away with the stuff we're going to use later. And I'm going to grab out one of my handy dandy knives. So, hey, hi Joan. We are going a little more Mediterranean today, so a little more up your alley. I am going to make a quick minestrone. Probably not as traditional as some people would make it, but I'm using up what I've got, which my husband used to work for an Italian restaurant, and he said minestrone or minestrone, however you want to say it, in an Italian restaurant is kind of like pho. Hey, Ruby. Minestrone is kind of like pho in a Asian restaurant. Like they just keep adding to it, whatever happens to be left over for the day. So you never knew what you were going to get at this restaurant, which was made it kind of fun to order the soup because sometimes it had zucchini in it, sometimes it had peas in it, sometimes it had corn in it. It's just whatever leftover vegetable, they made something out of it. So that was the thing. So and also I guarantee we're not going to be done in 40 minutes today unless my Wi-Fi dies or something silly like that, because there's a lot of chopping to do and I didn't pre-chop much of anything. I did pre-make, not remake. I pre-made the sauce or the dressing, if you will, for the Italian chopped sandwich slash salad. And I know IT guy won't eat it. He's not much on condiments as it is. None of my kids are. Isn't that odd? They don't really like mayonnaise, mustard. They'll eat ketchup on stuff, but you know, it's ketchup appropriate, if you will. But yeah, totally, Joan. It's like I don't have the recipe that I have that, you know, I'm just, and as far as I'm concerned, minestrone doesn't necessarily need one, but I thought, oh, I'm going to look and see what a classic one looks like. So I got a classic minestrone recipe. And then I thought, okay, I've got a lot of these things, but not everything. For example, this one called for a vegetable stock. I don't have vegetable stock, so hi, Christy. Oh, all my favorites are coming in. I love that. So it's more fun that way. And you guys are here and we're chit-chatting and everybody's sharing what they know. So, but yeah, just like vegetable soup here, minestrone is one of those things you can just make it your own. So, all right. And you know, this is when I said using up the leftovers and things like that. That's like this. I had these shredded carrots for another recipe, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get a bunch of carrots out. I'm just going to do this. So I will get a couple handfuls of these guys, and they'll cook up. They'll be fine. We don't need them to be little discs or little. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And I'm going to turn it way down because I just want it to simmer, if you will. But we'll get that going. Get some oil in the pan. It's just a great way to get some vegetables in. And something else, this is really interesting. I thought this was really cool because I was looking, because what we're making with the sandwich is a pretty high sodium meal. And as someone watching her sodium intake, I was like, okay, yeah, exactly. How do I make this, or what do I serve with it? That was basically the thing. What do I serve with this meal, because it's such a high sodium meal, to negate all that sodium? And basically, if you know anything about nutrition, the thing that negates sodium is potassium. It will help you get rid of your extra sodium. So I started looking up what kind of foods have high potassium. Believe it or not, minestrone was one of the things that was actually on the list. So that was pretty cool. So I thought, well, there you go. But I've made some decisions about what to do with what's in this because of the potassium situation. For example, I'm going to cut up a potato. You notice the skin is on the potato, and I'm leaving it on. I scrubbed it with a scrub brush. It's nice and clean. So before anybody worries, everything is copacetic there. It will be fine. But I'll get my mirepoix on, which if somebody's new to cooking, I saw this with it was funny, I saw a part of it's a podcast, but it's online. It's and they were saying, there's jargon when you're in any industry. And Angela Hartnett, who is a chef, she's one of the main people on the podcast, and they cook for people. They're based in Britain, and they cook for people. And while they're cooking, they have chats about this, that, and the other thing. And not ready yet. Okay, I'm going to turn it up just to get it warm enough to cook. And they shared this on this clip, and it's like the jargon that you really don't realize people don't understand. This is true. But what they were talking about was she was talking about a sauce, and somebody was following a recipe one time, and it said, you make the sauce, and then it says reduce by half. Well, those of us who've been cooking a while know that means cook it until there's half the amount you started with, right? This guy was new to cooking, and he threw out half the sauce because he reduced it by half. So honestly, if somebody's new here, please understand there is jargon, and I may laugh not at you, I may laugh at the question, because sometimes things seem so obvious to people who know what they're doing that it just takes them aback, when they get a simple question like that. You're like, oh, I never would have thought about it that way. But people do. When they don't know what you're talking about, they just come from a really different perspective. And it can be a little mind-blowing sometimes. So I'm trying to think. I know one of my kids did that to me one time, and I was like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. And that's happened to me. And this is why I'm going to tell you, if I laugh, please understand, I've been laughed at. Because I, especially in the beginning of my blogging journey, really struggled with the tech part of the website and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I still do. But the things that I didn't know could fill a gymnasium. So I would ask sometimes really like simple questions. I also seem to have this knack when I started of having the weird problem nobody else had ever had before. And I actually had a guy who maintained websites for a living look at my website, and he's like, how did this happen? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've never seen this problem. And it took him 4 months to fix it, to figure it out. So I waited 4 months to go online with my blog because I already had my name attached to a website builder. And so he had to fix it. So it was crazy. This should be hot by now. Let me try some. Well, it'll definitely be hot. So, well. So anyway, even if I giggle at the question, trust me, I don't think you're stupid if you ask something. Oh, Ruby, I swear, as a person with ADHD, that would be something I would say. I'd be like, well, and IT guy has ADHD too, so yeah, we would be the kind to say that too. We should try it just once. And my husband would be like, you two are nuts. So anyway, oh well. So anyway, when they say there's no dumb questions, I agree. There's questions that will throw somebody that already has a knowledge of something. I've also had, there's something called a UTM, and it tracks your clicks on your website. And I was in a group and it told you how to do it, and I did it, and I'm like, this didn't work. And when the person who's a friend of mine looked back, she's like, I've had 50 people do this. Nobody did this. How in the world did you do this? I'm like, I don't know. Again, I don't know. All right, we're starting to get smoky there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these a little bit bigger. So there we got our mirepoix. I've got my garlic sitting there too, but that's going to wait. So we're going to soften up those veggies for a few minutes. Okay. Carrots, celery, onions. That's a mirepoix, in case somebody doesn't know. So, the things you learn. I'll go with this one. These will just take a few minutes to start to soften up a little bit. I'm going to pull that a little bit closer to me. Makes it a little bit easier to deal with. You guys are awesome. I swear. You crack me up. Okay. I've got other things to do, but I want to make sure this gets cut up quickly. Because I think this is the only other thing I have to chop for this. Everything else is already chopped up. I just want to make sure these are kind of bite-sized so that they're not crunchy when we get done. Yes, for sure, Joan. Agreed. I laugh at myself all the time. And my family laughs at me all the time. So, again, out of good fun. I know that I'm loved. And we kind of do that with each other. Like I said, I think I've told you guys before, my youngest used to say things that we all thought were extremely random when he was younger. And one day I asked him, so if you've heard this story, I apologize, but one day I stopped him in the middle of what he was talking about, and I was like, okay, how did you get from there to there? And when he told me, I was flabbergasted because it was like, well, you said this and it made me think of this. And that's why, and then I remembered this. So that's why I said this. And I was like, oh, there's a logic to it. His brain just goes that fast, right? And it doesn't make any sense to us because we weren't in on the thought process. So the next time it happened with his brothers and they started laughing, I said to him, tell them how you got from there to there. And he told them, and my oldest said, oh, so, and I said, see, there's a logic to it. Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean that it, there's something wrong. And that's when my oldest son said, oh, so he's speaking in wingdings, which means it has meaning, but he's the only one that got it, right? Because he's the only one that knew the language, which now has become a phrase in our house. We either call it, did I make an ADHD jump, or somebody speaking in wingdings, if they're talking about something we're just not getting. So, all right, I'm going to pop that garlic in there for about 30 seconds before I throw something else in. Let it bloom. There you go. There's a cooking term. When you're talking about herbs, spices, things like that, we let them bloom if we let them sit in the oil for a while. Okay, can I tell you guys, here's the thing. I'm 60-something years old. I have recently, fallen in love with smoked paprika because of that smoky flavor. So, exactly. Some people would not put potatoes in. I'm putting them in, seriously, because of the potassium. So, I also have a bunch of russets I need to use up. So, there you go. And basically, this recipe is like, whatever's in season, throw it in there. So, putting them in there so they can cook a little longer. And now we're going to start building some flavor too. Even though we've got the garlic in there, we've got some flavor building to do. This calls for it calls for this much later, but whatever. Should get that next. It calls for diced tomatoes, but it calls for 28 ounces of them. I don't have a 28 ounce can, and I don't feel like opening 2 more cans. And I have these gorgeous San Marzano tomatoes. They're my favorite to cook with because, oh gosh, they make everything taste good. But so I will squish them up in the soup. Try to stay as close to the recipe as I can. So that's the thing. I understand that, depending on where you're from, you might call what I've done sacrilege by putting potatoes in, but it just is what it is, man. Back in the day, I don't know about your parents, but sometimes you use what you've got. And I was kind of excited about that today because I was like, you know what? I've got this stuff. Some of it can go in the soup. That's great. That's I needed about a quarter of a cup of the tomato paste, which we're going to toss in there. And then it basically says 2 cups of seasonal vegetables. So I am going to use some potatoes. Could use zucchini. If I need some more, if I feel like it needs more, I'll throw some zucchini in there. But I've got some leftover green beans, so I'm going to toss some of those in there. Because we've talked about this before. I am not a fan about I'm not a fan of food waste. Oh, nice. Yeah, the smoked paprika definitely, just makes just a different flavor profile. And I started using it because I bought I got to get some juice in there. The bottom's starting to get gross. I don't want to burn it. So, exactly. Experimenting with food is, and some of it's not even experiment. It's just using what you've got because you don't want to, I don't want to throw things away. I mean, we all have to now and then, but if I can minimize that, that's for sure what I want to do. So get that back on there. Green beans, got the garlic in there. It calls for oregano and thyme. I'm just going to put a little bit of Italian seasoning in there, so I get a little extra. I get marjoram, thyme, and basil, or marjoram, basil, and rosemary, savory, sage, all of it. So not a ton of it, but we'll use that. Ooh, it smells so good. All right. Get a little more of that juice in there. Keep that. So we've got some, what they call, when stuff gets on the bottom, but it's not burnt and it's just browned, for people who don't know, it's called fond. It's just the brown bits on the bottom of the pan. And when you add some stock or whatever, that tends to help you with that. I'm going to turn this down a notch because it's really cooking. All right, so building flavors. Now, again, when I'm happy to have my biodegradable disposable gloves, I'm going to squish up some tomatoes. Since I don't have diced, I've got these beauties. So I remember my mom doing this when I was a kid. She would buy whole tomatoes because they were so much cheaper than diced. And she would squish them up by hand. She didn't wear gloves, but I can't stand it. My hands feel terrible from the acid from the tomato. I mean, I can. It's just, I don't like the way it feels. So if I've got an alternative, I will use it. And today I have one. So if you were making this, what would be your favorite vegetable to put in? Like I said, I've got green beans and potatoes in there. I've got a zucchini sitting here if I want to put some zucchini in there. But this one says, potatoes, yellow squash, zucchini, butternut squash, green beans, peas. It all works. So, and like I said, I've seen peas in it. I've seen corn in it. So, hi, Greg. Welcome in. So, like I said, I think there are, and I do not mean this as any kind of an insult because I'm from Germany, okay, where there is elevated food and there is what they consider peasant food. And the peasant food had a lot of cabbage in it and stuff like that. And which is funny because at one time soups and stews were considered peasant food. And frankly, I love a soup. As a matter of fact, we are planning in September to, and this was IT guy's idea, we're going to do a soup timber. So every day we will be making some kind of soup. That may not be the main meal, but there will be some kind of soup that we make every day that we're online in September. I'm kind of excited about that, to be honest. Okay. We're all smushed up. Got our stuff going on. There you go, Ruby. We need to get together for dinner. That's something that happened to me today. I got a random text that says, "Do you want to do dinner tomorrow night?" from somebody I don't know. And I'm like, I don't think I'll be answering that. So, and it's from an area code outside the country. So I'm guessing that was spam. Da, 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 da. Like I said, this one calls for vegetable stock. I do not have any. So we're going with chicken. I have made minestrone with beef stock. I've made it with water, but I only did that once because it just didn't have enough flavor. Got a little wild there. So, yeah, I figure, I know we won't be quite cooling off yet, but, you know, how can you miss when you call it Soup-tember, right? And then we'll probably do comfort foods in October. And in November, because I'm in the US, we will start looking at some fun things for Thanksgiving. And see, this also calls for 2 cups of water. Now I need to get this boiling again. I forgot to grab something. See if I can make this happen. Nope, I'm going to have to try to fish them out, I guess. I used to have a spice ball in here, and I think it finally died on me, so I had to get rid of it. Hey, IT guy, can you come here for a sec? Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. I really would like to redo my cabinets in here. I have one of those guys on the bottom of that cabinet right there, if you could. You know what? This recipe does call for some greens, and I don't have any, so I am going to be leaving that out. I was going to say that in a little while, but you got to be first. So, but yeah, I was kind of bummed when. Oh, there you go. Forgot about those. These are Great Northern beans. You could use cannellini beans. You could use butter beans. I've had it with kidney beans, pinto beans. No, bottom of that cabinet. So, and yeah, I would be one. It's one of the few ways like my family will eat kale is in a soup, as green in a soup, because I can't really taste it. So my problem with spinach is sometimes, depending on the soup, it can get a little slimy after, like if I'm eating it for 3 or 4 days, because my family is not huge on soup. So I'm going to rinse these beans real quick. And then we'll toss them in there. So beans also have a lot of potassium in them. Yeah, one of those, please. And potassium, fiber, we like that, right? Thank you, dear. So I'm going to pop a few bay leaves in here. It's actually a tea infuser, but, you know, it'll work. I've used them before. And this calls for 2 bay leaves. I have these little teeny tiny ones, so I'm just going to put a bunch in there. Shh, don't tell anybody. So there's the beans. stay up. Come on, behave. Nope, doesn't want to. Wants to fall over. And if it does, fine. It'll still infuse, so we'll do that. It'll sink eventually. I did not put the pepper in, so I'll put some pepper in. That's funny, Joan. My husband and I actually talked about doing that one time. At one point, we wanted to open like a soup and simple sandwich restaurant because he loves sandwiches and I love soup. So we were like, we could do that. But unfortunately, with the situation in this country with our health care, we couldn't afford to not have health care because he's type 1 diabetic and our son has a medical condition that can cost tens of thousands of dollars a year without insurance. So I'm going to walk these things over to the sink. Okay, that's everything I need to put in there, although I also, for a little extra protein, a little extra fiber, I decided to grab a thing of lentils. So I'm going to add that in there for just some extra yummy. Yes, agreed, Ruby. I always chop it. The other thing I've been known to do, if I've got like a package of spinach, is I will do it per bowl. And so while the soup is warming up, I'll take a handful of spinach, I'll wash it and then chop it really small, put it in the bowl or put it in the pan with the soup as it's warming up. And then it's, it kind of brings a freshness to the soup, if you will. So, thank you. But yeah, I'm going to drain these guys and do the same. Ooh, this one I'm going to need a strainer for because it's a lot fuller than the beans. I can make the beans work. I can't make this one work. So, okay. Plus there's like that, like with garbanzo beans, you've got the aquafaba. It's similar to that. So, and to be honest, I think I am going to add a little. I'm going to add a little water to it. It's kind of thick. And I'm going to be putting some pasta in later. So the lentils, again, that's more fiber. It's more potassium. All the good stuff that we want. There we go. That's better. So we've got our minestrone going, cooking up. You know what? I'm going to throw some more green beans in there. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to throw them all in there. Shh, don't tell my husband. No, he doesn't care. I don't know why I even said that. He could care less. He will probably remark that there are a lot of green beans in there, but that's okay. But it's one more thing that won't go bad. I love that. Now that it's in the soup. Okay, so next up is put the lid on. Thanks, Joan. I appreciate it. You're a good person. Good friend. And then we're going to let that come to a boil. And while that's coming to a boil, I'm going to put that to the side a little bit. Done with this for a while. I'm going to switch out of soup mode. And we're going to go into sandwich mode, sandwich/salad mode. So I'm going to put these guys over here. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to need that Italian seasoning back. So grab that. This is where it's going to get interesting, folks, because I'm reading this recipe for the sandwiches, the chopped sandwiches, and it sounds amazing. But there's something in each component. There's different components in here I know my family is not going to like. So we're going to customize this per person in my family. I'm going to wash off my cutting board. Go with round 2. So I'm going to eat this as a salad. Mr. 513 and IT Guy will be eating it as a sandwich. I'm going to start with IT Guys because his will have the fewest components. And I got mini sub buns, so yep. I hear it. I hear you, Joan. Somebody needs to have the full time. And once we had a child that had special needs, that's when me staying home became the norm in our family. So it calls for provolone. I have provolone. I happen to have a lower sodium version. I will tell you how I'm lightening this up just a tad. As much as I can anyway. And if you can eat all the original stuff, yay for you. I just can't anymore. Doctor's orders. And I can tell the difference between when I eat well, for me, when I eat the right stuff and I eat the wrong stuff. I just don't feel good anymore. This is turkey pepperoni, so it's got 60% less fat. I've got a lower sodium honey ham, where this recipe, where an Italian calls for like more like a capicola or a salami. Hey, IT guy, I do have a salami. Will you grab it? Will you see if you can find it in the drawer? So, one of my kids, that's all he ate for lunches for years was salami. I know it's not the healthiest thing, but it was literally the only lunch meat. It was the only, except on Fridays during Lent, which he would eat a peanut butter and jelly. None of my kids liked buying. Thank you so much for that. Okay. I swear I brought it over here. What did I do with it? Oh, I got this one. Oh well. So you guys are awesome. Catching up with your conversations. Y'all are the best. I thought I might not be with you guys for a while, at least a few days. Over the weekend, my son, who lives in California, his wife, speaking of medical stuff, his wife fell and broke her leg, and she needs surgery. And I knew he was not going to be able to care for her and work, and she's not going to be able to work. And frankly, they can't afford to not be working for a couple of weeks. So, yeah, I called out, he called me to let me know, and I said, if you need me to come out, I will certainly do that. And let me preface this with let me add to this that my daughter-in-law's parents are amazing human beings. I really, really like them. But my daughter-in-law has a sister who has cancer. So mom and dad are a little bit, they're kind of caught up in all of that, to be honest. And so while I wasn't sure they would be able to, because her dad is retired, but her mom is still working. And she travels a lot for her job. So I wasn't sure if she had to be out of town and if he would have to stay with their other daughter, that kind of stuff. So anyway, so throwing no shade whatsoever at my daughter-in-law's parents, because like I said, they're amazing people and they're dealing with a lot right now. So I just made the offer, but her dad is going to be able to work that out. So I am very happy for them that they can do that. I think they'll rest easier having one of them out there. I would certainly if it was my kid. But really afterwards is when they're going to need help. So I wasn't sure if I was going or not for a little while there. Fortunately, her dad can come. So that's great. All right. And like we said, we're using up some leftovers and stuff. And I think I told you guys when I made this homemade summer sausage that it's okay, but it's dry. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that in here. Actually, IT guy enjoyed this stuff. So that's why I'm putting some in his sandwich. Not just to get rid of it, but because he actually enjoyed it. Mr. 513 actually enjoyed it too when he put some, I think he used the Chick-fil-A sauce. So there we go. That's IT guys right here. I'm going to chop the meat first. This is Mr. 513's. I think this is his favorite kitchen utensil, is this thing. Whenever he has to cut something in any quantity, he pulls this guy out. And we make, on average, we make about 10 pounds of ground beef barbecue for his family for Christmas Eve. That's one of our many contributions. Shh, don't tell anybody what I just did if you saw it. Now this ought to be interesting because like I said, IT guy doesn't really like sauces. Well, this thing is sliding. It doesn't usually slide. But the sauce kind of holds it together. So I don't know if he's going to want to put maybe some ranch in there. IT guy, why don't you come in here and help me with this? Because otherwise you're going to have a pretty dry sandwich, to be honest. And then we get out the lettuce because we're going to add that in. So it's funny, and I appreciate that, Ruby, but it's like, it's the worst. We were saying the other night, it's the worst case scenario with the best case scenario that she has some tendon damage in that ankle anyway. So while they're in there, they're going to fix both of them. Her dad could come out. You know, we know how sick her sister is, so it could be so much worse. You know, whenever I can be, I am a count your blessings kind of person, and those are some of the blessings in it that, you know, my son, they're in California where the hybrid has stayed. So he works some in his office, but then he works a lot at home. And so with his father-in-law being there and they get along really, really well, he will be able to do some morning. He'll be able to do some time in the office. He'll be able to do some time at home as needed. So that's a good thing. Do you want any sauce on this? Do you want ranch dressing or something that we can? It's going to be way more than you probably want or need. So he's shaking his head yes at me, I figured. So, all right, Joan, we'll see you when you get back. But so there you go. It's like all the meats, right? So we're going to take, why don't you hand that to me? And if you would get out your sub buns. So far we've got ham, we've got turkey, we've got some of the summer sausage. You weren't listening. Shame on you. Some hard salami, some turkey pepperoni, and a couple pieces of provolone. Is there anything else you want in there? Since I'm doing that. Yes, it is. Happy about that. He's thinking if he wants anything else. So while he's thinking, I'm going to stir the soup. It's burbling away, which is good. And while it's burbling away, doing its thing, the last ingredient is a cup of pasta. Now, I don't have the small, like, orecchiette or anything like that because, you know, gluten-free, and this happens to be grain-free. I do have some really, really tiny stuff, but I don't want that. So my husband doesn't like teeny tiny. I'm lucky he'll eat the lentils, to be honest. My spoon rest is over on the stove, so I'm just going to do this for now. Leave that there. And then I'm going to get a bowl down here. There's a method to the madness. There always is. So the method to the madness is that, yeah, I've got 3, Ruby. So my oldest is married with 2 kids. My middle is out in California, like I said. And then my youngest is still here. So I'm going to say that's to make some of the cucumber sandwich stuff. So, all right, we're going to go with some ranch for him because, you know, we are in the Midwest. Yes, I'm being silly. But if you're from the Midwest, you know we love our ranch here. Not a huge Hidden Valley ranch person. There are other ranch dressings I prefer, but IT guy likes these. So, all right, Bubba, hand me your. So sandwich number 1, very simple. Yeah, sons are different. They're hilarious. I have told both of my daughter-in-laws that I did my best to civilize them, but I also know that from my mother-in-law, who had 7 sons, by the way, she had 9 kids, 2 daughters, 7 sons, that she even said, you would think by her 9th child, which is my husband, she would have known exactly what to do and how to do it. But she said they're all different. And she said, for the most part, when her sons met the one, they straightened themselves out. So things, and I can tell you that for true and for certain. My sons, things they didn't do when they lived with me. This may be too much again, but I'm going to give you a fork so you can shove it all in there. You can take a nice big bite and you can tell me whether it's a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a, oh my God. Oh, he's, okay, because there's not enough meat on the sandwich, he's going to add a little bacon. So, anywho. Yes, Ruby, we do our best. And then at some point you got to say, you know what? I actually had that conversation with my middle one, or my oldest one. He did not like our rules necessarily. All right, mine's going to be a salad, so I'm going to add some extra. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to make I'm going to make Mr. 513s. He'll like a little extra lettuce on his anyway, so that'll be good. In a bout of frustration when he was just 16 and wanted to stay out all night with his girlfriend, and I love being a boy mom too, but in a bout of frustration, he said to me one day, if you are as worried about me when I'm in college as you are when I'm in high school, we're both going to be miserable. And I started laughing. And I said, I won't. And he's like, what do you mean you won't? I said, well, you got to remember, buddy, my job is that when I drop you off on that college campus, wherever that happens to be, because we knew that one was going to college. He really wanted to go. They all ended up going, but this one, he was a no-doubter. But I said, when you go off to college, when I drop you off on that campus, I have no say in this anymore. This is all on you. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, you're an adult. Whatever you do, your accomplishments are your accomplishments, but you mess up. That's not our fault. That's going to be on you as well. And he got really quiet for a little while. I said, so my job is to make sure that when I drop you off, that I am confident that you can handle yourself like an adult. And I said, yes, once you're in college, if your girlfriend's there and you guys want to stay out all night, you can do that. But while you're under my tutelage, that's not going to happen. Now, when he was his senior prom, he stayed out all night. I did the same thing back in the day. So I knew who he was. I knew where he was. I knew what he was doing. So, and that was right about the time. I mean, he graduated in 2012. So they were doing the prom thing. So the after prom. So they were at after prom all night, which was great. So now I am going to put this aside because this is Mr. 513's, but he's a spicy guy. So yay, welcome back, Joan. So Mr. 513 likes his spice. So I'm definitely going to add some pepperoncinis in for him. If I had jalapenos, I would do the same, and he would be happy. As a matter of fact, we were at a pizza restaurant, and they have something called a pizza bowl, which is crustless, but you can get all the toppings and the sauces and stuff, and cheese. And I ordered one, and I ordered banana peppers, and my brother was in town, and he looked at me and goes, banana peppers? Who are you? That tells you. So, and I said, well, when they cook, and anybody who knows this about pepperoncinis, when they cook, they lose a lot of their spiciness. So they mellow out. So I'm going to take his lovely chopped up stuff. He'll probably eat half of it as a sandwich. So they do. And in the best of ways. That was the oldest one was I'm trying to think of a nice way to say something else, but I'm just going to say he was hell-bent on becoming an engineer. And we just kind of felt like it was the wrong place for him. Smart enough to be an engineer for sure. And when we went to it was like a junior day. And it was for engineering. And the first question out of their mouth was, how many of you guys, every toy you ever got, you turned upside down to see how it worked? And we're here with the wrong kid. And then the next question was, And how many of you were in Lego League? And now my son was in Lego League for like 2 years. My middle son was in Lego League for 5 years, I think, all through junior high. They didn't have a senior high team at the time. My husband and I are just looking at each other going, we're here with the wrong kid. But he decided he wanted to be an engineer. And so we're like, okay, fine. And 2 years in, he came to us and went, I don't want to be an engineer. And we're like, and? Because I'm thinking, I got 2 more kids coming, man. What's the plan here? And he said, but I'm going to finish school. I'm going to get my degree, but I'm not going to work in engineering. I'm like, okay, fine. I can live with that. And the thing is, he's the kind of person that I knew when he said that, he meant it. And he did. He graduated. And he graduated with a job. And the thing is, we always thought this kid should be in finance because even as a little kid, he's like, give me a math problem. He didn't want to color. Like when we would go out, they give you those little kids menus. He never wanted to color. He would say, will you give me math problems? So we're like, why is this kid not in finance? And not a month after he told us he wasn't going to be an engineer, a bunch of his friends who were in finance said to him, hey, we're all gonna work for JP Morgan Chase this summer. You want to join us? And it's like, sure. So he calls us. He's like, do you mind if I stay here for the summer? We're like, no, we don't mind. He had to pay for his apartment anyway. So we're like, good. That means your apartment's going to get the right kind of use then. So he stayed. He worked there. And he worked every semester from there on out, all 4 semesters after that. Even the semester that he could only work 8 hours a week, they still kept him on, and he would go in. He had one day that he had no classes, and they kept him. So, and on top of that, they offered him a job before he even started his senior year. So that has worked out. He still works for them. He is now, instead of being a mechanical engineer, he's now a software engineer. So I guess he really did end up in engineering, but not in any way, shape, or form in the way he ever thought he would. And one of his best friends was in chemical engineering, and he now owns a bar and brews his own spirits. So these guys, it's kind of funny. They all met in engineering, and there were 4 of them that were really good friends, and I'm not sure any of them work in engineering, or at least the intended engineering that they started with. Let's put it that way. So that just shows you. You never know, right? So, oh yeah. Doesn't bacon make everything better? Hi, Karen. Welcome in. Today we're making minestrone and a chop salad for me, chop sandwiches for my husband and my son, because I don't do the bread thing. So, all right, now we're going to talk about the sauce or the dressing or whatever you want to call it. What it calls for is mayonnaise, red wine vinegar, and some other stuff. I did not have red wine vinegar, so I use champagne vinegar. Okay, when I say I don't have red wine vinegar, I didn't realize I was out. So here's the thing. I have sherry vinegar. I have sherry cooking wine. I have apple cider vinegar. I have balsamic vinegar. I have pomegranate vinegar. I have watermelon vinegar. And what's this one? I got to take this one back. This one is white balsamic vinegar. So I have like 7 different vinegars. I just didn't have red wine vinegar. And I made this with champagne vinegar. I have that too. So I made it with this, with the champagne vinegar, and I'm not sure anybody's gonna like it that much, but I'm gonna put it on mine just for fun. It's a little tart, if you will, a little zingy. So I think the red wine vinegar would have been a little more, what's the word I want? I don't know if it would have been more mellow or not, but I don't think it would have been quite this astringent, would be my best term for it. So, but I'm an olive fan, so we're going to add some olives. Those are Castelvetrano. You have no idea how long I practiced that before I got it right. And then I've got some Calamatas. Calamatas, Castelvetrano have this like really wonderful buttery taste, where the Calamatas have that like deep, rich, umami kind of taste. So I'm gonna add these to my mix. I needed a bigger cutting board, didn't I? But there's really not room for much bigger, to be honest. I thought about doing like a muffaletta type of sandwich, because that's got an olive tapenade in it. I know that's something IT guy wouldn't be interested in at all, but Mr. 513 would probably be game to try it. It's got olive tapenade on it. As he coughs a little bit. So I'm going to work this in. Would you get me the salad shears, please? So yes, you could pile this all in, but I always think chopping it up, it just gives it a, it's easier to distribute through your salad, through your, through your sandwich, whatever. Also calls for a chopped tomato, which I'm going to do with a serrated knife. They just cut so much easier. And it does call for aroma, so I'm going to use aroma. Some things I'll be true to. The nice thing about aroma is some tomatoes you want to be really, really juicy. Some tomatoes you don't. And aromas are not super juicy tomatoes. So they work really well. I'm going to turn this down a notch. And while I would normally put the lettuce in with this, oh, Joan, I think you were gone when I cut up the banana peppers for my husband. And I said if I had jalapenos, which I do not currently, I definitely would have added them for him. So that's funny. Yeah, I'm not. I wish I liked spicy. To be honest with you, I really do. But I just don't. Was never a spicy wing girl. I'll take your teriyaki wings anytime. Or a mild barbecue, I can do that. Or a garlic parmesan if it's not spicy. I love these things. If you don't have them, I'm telling you, they're a wonderful thing to have. Because here's the thing. Now, I know they're going to be different prices everywhere, but this big old honking bag of lettuce is $5. I used to throw out about half a bag a week, and it really made me mad. And it was funny because then we realized if my husband and I each have a salad, if you get a salad out, you're not getting a salad for less than $5 a piece. So I'm like, we've already made our money back by not ordering a salad somewhere. We made it at home. And then you add to it that so if I have to throw out a half a thing, and we've had a couple salads, I learned to stop complaining about it. I did a no complaining challenge once. It really kind of helped me in my complaining journey, if you will. It was the challenge was to not complain about anything out loud for 30 days. Not as easy as you might think it is. And I never really considered myself as a complainer, but wow. Yeah, you spicy people, man. My hat's off to you. This is some of the mozzarella we used for the caprese salad the other day. So again, I don't want to throw it away, so I'm going to toss some of the mozzarella in for me. Hi, Marty. Welcome in. We are making minestrone soup and a chopped salad today. A version of the viral chopped salad, if you will. I'm only going to eat about half the salad, so that'll be tomorrow's lunch. Woohoo! I love it when lunch is already made. I don't know about you guys. So I will have soup and salad for lunch again tomorrow. I do not mind having leftovers. Never have. As long as they're good leftovers. So, alrighty. And tomorrow, when I make BLTs, I'm just going to tell you up front. Anybody who thinks I should be putting mayonnaise on them, that's what my mayonnaise looks like right now. That's in the sauce. My mayonnaise is done for. So I will be getting some new mayonnaise on Friday. We go to the grocery on Friday. It has there's a couple of reasons why we do that. Number one is that at our grocery store, which is Kroger, we have 4 times the fuel points on Fridays. So we go on Fridays a lot. Whenever we can, we're going on a Friday to get our 4 times the fuel points. I'm going to stir this up. I don't know if that's enough of the sauce. I might put some more in there. We'll see. So that, and during the summertime, my husband is on summer hours. So he works 4 9-hour shifts. And then, hey, IT guy, you need to try the soup too, if you're down here still. But, and guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to make my Parmesan crisp. Daggone it. Oh, we'll get that started. It only takes 5 minutes. All right. At least that's what it says. But I just do this. I think it said 5 minutes. In your air fryer. Air fryer. I'm not going to do it in a muffin tin. Yep. So 400, it'll be 425 for mine for 4 to 5 minutes. So that'll be easy enough. We're going to do this. Yikes! Noisy. Sorry about that. They said to put it on the top shelf, so we'll see. But you just take, I have pre-shredded, so we're going to use that. So I'm going to see if I can do 3. 2, about 1/4 cup is what it says. Those two might run into each other. That's fine if they do. Let's see how it goes. I've never made these before. Everybody says they're super easy. So let's do 425 because I always have, mine has to go up 25 degrees because that's just the way it is. And we will do It says 45 minutes. We're going to do 5. All right. And while that's doing its thing, I'm going to scoop up some soup here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this off unless I taste it and everything is still really crunchy. Hopefully it's not. That for the bowl. Soup ladle. It's going to be hot. That I know. All right. So there's all our goodies. We got our potatoes and our beans and our green beans and our tomatoes and all that good stuff. First thing I'm going to do is try this potato. Because if it's not done, probably going to have to pour it back in. I don't mind if they're a little, oh, those kind of regrets, huh? Ooh, that's soft. Ah, that's soft. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. That's turned off. I'll put the lid back on it so it stays nice and hot for Mr. 513. I don't know about you, but minestrone requires a little sprinkling of Parmesan. My dishwasher's always mad at me, but that's okay. Maybe a little extra sprinkle of it. Now let's do some taste testing. Like I said, if you can eat all the Coca-Cola and all the other good stuff, you know, have at it. And do what makes you happy. I'm not going to tell you to go against doctor's orders, but, you know, that was something my cardiologist said to me. He's like, we have to find an eating plan that works for you. Because that's the only way you stick with it. Would you hand me a napkin, please? Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. When I said it was a lot with the dressing, I think it's a lot on its own. But when you add it in to this, I'm actually going to put a little more on because I like the flavor of it when it's with everything else. It just was really overpowering on its own. The other thing I was thinking you could do, and you know, some people are going to be like, ah! But if you're trying to add some fish into your diet, I think you could put an anchovy or two. I've had things with anchovies that are really good if they're done well. And I honestly think if you looked up, and here's the recipe that I used, it was, there it is. It was in the Delish test kitchen. If you look that one up, that's the one I made. But I think if you use their recipe, I think you could add like an anchovy in there. And they're supposed to be really good for you. It's when it's too much. And that's what it needs to be. You're right, Ruby. It just needs to be it just needs to be something that you can stick with, because that was another thing is I said, look, I have tried salmon every way they make it. And I just can't like it. You know, I've tried it as salmon patties, I've tried it grilled, I've tried it smoked, I've had it fresh. like less than 24 hours after it was caught, because my uncle used to fish for the salmon. We were there when the salmon were running. Um, I've had it teriyaki. I've had it what they call salmon bacon. I've had all of that stuff, and it just tastes terrible to me. So I said, I can eat ahi. He's like, good, eat the ahi then. So, and I'm allergic to avocado. And when I said that, my cardiologist looked at me and goes, oh, that's unfortunate. I'm like, yeah, it is, because I like them. It's been several years. Might be time to try it again. I know that sounds crazy, but the thing is, um, I used to have a severe peanut allergy, like anaphylaxis, to the point where my eyes were shut and my throat was swelling shut when I was a kid. Um, and I outgrew it. So I was allergic to raisins. I was allergic to uh, peanuts, and I was allergic to tuna in a can, which sounds really weird. But what we found out later is we also have a mercury allergy in our family, and it's familial. My mom had it. I have it. Uh, and it's a really unpleasant allergy as well. So I'm gonna give the minestrone a try. That's really good. Um, I said before, I've made that with beef broth. It's really different. It's a lot more tomatoey with the chicken. Um, I'm gonna not the function, the time. I'm gonna go for one more minute on that because it's not brown around the edges, which they suggest that it would be. Okay, so here's the deal. That chopped salad, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I would get the red wine vinegar next time for the sauce, but it's really good with the champagne vinegar. Really, really good. Sub in whatever you want. Um, it also called for pesto. I don't like pesto, but I love basil. So I had a bunch of basil from the other day, and so I put a bunch of that in the sauce, and it tastes great. But yeah, and whatever meats make you happy. I mean, that's the truth. Whatever makes you happy on that one. That's the great thing about salads and stuff like that. You can just personalize everything. Obviously, I personalized the sandwich for IT guy and for Mr. 513, and then the salad for me. Okay, now we're browning up the edges. Let's go one more minute. We'll see how they came out. I think we'll be done after the next minute. Oh, let me get you some soup, see what you think. Now, do you want Parmesan cheese in it? No? Heathen. Anyway, I heard somebody call somebody else who was being stupid, um, called them a soup fork. And I thought that was one of the funniest insults I've ever heard. They're like, you are such a soup fork. I was like, oh, wow. That that was not nice. Oh, the pepper guy. Okay, let's see how we did. Okay, I'm going to leave that for just a second because they are just like, here's what they're looking like. So they're doing what they're supposed to. Set that aside. Oh, and they're starting to turn. So I am going to take because there's a lot of grease. I'm going to blot that, which it does say you can do. There we go. So I thought it was a really neat idea too, Joan. I thought it was really fun. Tomorrow we're going to do something a little similar, but we're going to do BLTs, and then I've got an alternative bacon that we're going to try. Again, trying to reduce the cholesterol, the sodium, all that stuff. There were two at Whole Foods when I was there the other day, which was the only place I could find the chickpea flour that I used yesterday. So I decided to look there because I figured they would have alternative bacon, and they had two. And one was made with wheat, so couldn't get that one. And the one where I'm going to try tomorrow is made with mushrooms. So that could be very interesting. So you'll want to tune in for that one. I'm going to make BLTs for the guys, and I'm going to make a BLT salad for myself. I may just throw it on some sourdough too. So we'll see how that goes. But let's see if these will come off here yet. If they're still a little soft. So we might have to let those sit for a little bit longer before they get hard, but they kind of turned out. So it's interesting how when you try a recipe, sometimes they're beautiful and sometimes they're sort of okay, and other times they're just garbage. So we're gonna, this one is just so simple because it's basically, put it in the air fryer and then take it out. So I think the longer it sits, the crunchier it's going to get, because it's starting to get crunchy around the edges here. So there you go. This was suggested to go on top of a salad if you made it a salad, which would give you something like a crouton. I'd go another minute or two, I think. Because even though it's crunchy, it's not really crunchy. But yeah, if you're looking for an alternative to a crouton, this would work. They also have them pre-made. There's a brand called Wisps, WHISPS, and they make about this big, and they're flat. And instead of being round, they're like a disc. So, and they're lovely, and they're a great snack if you need one. So anyway, there you have it. Chopped salad, minestrone, and our little Parmesan crisp. Everything turned out today, guys. Woohoo! And tomorrow, like I said, we're going to be making BLTs. We're going to have BLT salad. We're getting out some leftovers, some of our leftover baked beans and some of our leftover deviled eggs, which I will turn into egg salad because my family loves to have a bacon, lettuce, and egg salad sandwich. So I'll be turning some of those into egg salad tomorrow. So, yeah, the good ones, Joan, actually, because I've had the ones that, like you said, the cheap ones that are really salty. And it's like literally 3 days later, I was still like, I can still taste that. So it was not fun at all. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. I love it. I love it. I love our conversations. I love that you have conversations with each other. It's fantastic. I'm going to wish you all a wonderful evening. I hope you will come back tomorrow as we BLT. And until then, remember to eat well, to be well, and that I love you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.